Have you ever been there? Like standing in a totally new city, trying to figure out the bus system? Maybe the map on your phone just isn't quite lining up with reality?
Hmm.
And you're just thinking, man, I wish I could just ask someone who knows the area.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're running late for work, like properly sprinting for the bus stop and just hoping, really hoping, your usual driver spots you and waits those extra couple of
Oh,
seconds.
we've all done that dash, haven't we?
Totally. Or, okay, picture this. You're at one of those automated ticket machines and something just glitches. The
Mhm.
receipt doesn't print, or maybe your card gets charged but no ticket comes out.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're lost in this maze of phone numbers and FAQs, and there's just no actual person to help.
Ugh, yes. The automated void.
It's exactly. If any of that sounds familiar, or maybe just thinking about it makes you a bit anxious, well, you're definitely in the right place today.
Wow.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into this really fascinating and sometimes, let's be honest, surprisingly frustrating world where artificial intelligence meets public transportation. We've gathered a whole stack of sources that uh, really pull back the curtain on the big promises of this tech leap, but also the very real snags people hit when it actually meets the real world.
And what's really interesting here, and kind of the goal for our deep dive today, is seeing how fast the conversation shifts. It goes from these, futuristic ideas, driverless trains, super efficient networks, straight to the immediate, very human impacts.
Right.
So our mission really is to explore what's happening right now. What are the challenges? What solutions are people trying with AI in transit? And crucially, what does it all mean for you, the person actually riding the bus or train every day? We've pulled together information from lots of different places, detailed industry reports talking about things like driver shortages, but also these incredibly personal stories from people just trying to get around when these automated systems, well, when they don't work perfectly. It's about getting that full picture, what's really happening on the ground or maybe on the buses and trains.
That's such a key point, isn't it? Because it's not just about the tech itself. It's about how it changes our daily routines, often in ways we just don't see coming until we're stuck right in the middle of it.
Exactly.
So to really get why AI is even showing up here, beyond just the buzzwords we need, to start with the situation before AI, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, that often overlooked human factor in public transport. Like when you think bus driver, you think driving, obviously.
Steering the wheel.
But the human touch, it goes so much deeper than just steering and stopping, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You've really hit on something vital there. That human element, it's subtle, definitely, but it's so, so significant. And it's something we take for granted all the time until suddenly it's just not there anymore. It's not just about the mechanics A to B. A human driver or even a ticket agent back in the day, they offer this dynamic interaction, this kind of nuanced awareness of the situation, and importantly, adaptability. That's incredibly hard for any automated system to copy, especially right now. Think of it like a hidden safety net, woven into your commute.
Invisible safety net. I like that. Can you maybe give us an example? Like, what does that look like day to day?
Okay, sure. Let's take what we could call a dynamic navigational aid. Imagine you're in a part of town you don't know well, maybe even a foreign city. All you know is the name of a shop or some landmark you need to find.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Right, a human bus driver, because they know their route inside out, they know the area, they've driven it for years, they can often bridge that gap for you. They might say, oh, you want that place, get off 2 stops after the park, even though the stop isn't called that.
That local knowledge.
Exactly, that intuitive, practical, local knowledge. It goes way beyond just map coordinates. An AI, even a really smart one, probably isn't going to give you that kind of personalized, context-aware tip. It works on data points, right? Not lived experience.
Makes perfect sense. They're like human GPS, but way more helpful, with that local wisdom built in. Seems irreplaceable, really.
Precisely. And then there's that crucial element of situational awareness and just human flexibility. Think about it. How many times have you been running just a bit late, sprinting for the stop,
Yeah.
and the driver sees you, waits that extra second, holds the door even if the light's green, or maybe you realize halfway through your trip, oh no, I'm going the wrong way. You desperately need off. And the driver, just out of kindness, maybe understanding, opens the door for you between stops. It's not technically the rule, not part of the schedule.
Right. They bend the rules slightly because they see a person in need.
Exactly. These are small acts, almost invisible sometimes, of discretion, empathy. They're just baked into human-led service, an automated system. It's programmed for efficiency, sticking to the schedule. It would almost certainly just keep going. It doesn't have that capacity for, on-the-spot judgment or compassion for someone's little crisis.
That's a huge point. It's the difference between a system following rules perfectly and a human who gets the spirit of the rules and understands the messy reality of people's lives, that adaptive intelligence.
Indeed. And this difference carries over powerfully into compassion and forgiveness. Think about this common scenario. You hop on the bus, maybe you're flustered, and then, oh no, you realize your wallet's at home. Or maybe the payment system on the bus itself is down.
Oh, nightmare.
Right, you don't have the exact fare. A human driver, countless times, might just wave you on, you know? Out of kindness, understanding that stuff happens. Will an AI system do that? Will it let you ride if its own payment system is broken?
Good question. Probably not.
Well, our sources repeatedly bring this up, this worry that a society running purely on automated efficiency might become one without forgiveness or compassion. It just shifts the entire burden of system failures onto the individual.
It's a really stark way to phrase it, but it hits home. It's about more than just transit, isn't it? It's how we value people.
It absolutely is. And then there's the really essential role of monitoring and enforcement. A bus driver isn't just driving, they're keeping an eye on what's happening inside the bus, too.
Right, keeping the peace.
Yeah, making sure basic rules are followed, no smoking, keep the music down, don't spill your coffee everywhere, stopping disruptive behavior. These little checks, they contribute a lot to a safer, more orderly, just more pleasant ride for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no human presence, what happens? Do people just follow the rules anyway? Will the shared space feel less comfortable? Those small interactions maintain order, a sense of shared responsibility. AI just can't do that right now.
And what about the really big one-child safety?
Yeah.
Especially on school buses. That has to be a major worry with automation talk.
Oh, it's paramount. Absolutely. And the sources we looked at ask this question directly. Would you trust AI to put your kids on a bus, home to school and back, with no adult human on board?
Tough question.
Because while AI can probably drive the bus okay, maybe even very well soon, there's still that vital need for a human to monitor the kids while they're riding, making sure they're behaving, not hurting each other, resolving little conflicts.
Right, the supervision aspect.
That human oversight for safety, it's critical for parents, for schools. Current AI systems, they're just not equipped for the complex, unpredictable social world of kids. They can't show the same judgment, empathy, or intervene like a person can.
Yeah.
Watching for bullying, stepping in during a medical issue, just being a reassuring presence, handling a tricky situation. That's all part of the human factor that AI, as it stands, just can't replace.
Okay, so we've established there's this deep, often invisible human element in public transport that's really crucial. But let's be real, our transit systems, and maybe school buses especially, are facing a major crisis right now. And that crisis is forcing districts to look for totally new answers, which is exactly where AI starts to enter the chat, so to speak. We're talking about a huge, ongoing, and actually worsening problem.
Yeah.
The bus driver shortage. And honestly, it's way worse than most people probably think.
You're absolutely right. This isn't something new that just popped up. It's a deep-rooted problem getting worse across the country. And this shortage, it's not just inconvenient, it directly messes up logistics, disrupts family life, puts this huge stress on communities. It has real impacts on kids getting to school safely and on time, on parents being able to work. It affects the whole function of a community, really.
So just how bad is it? Do we have any hard numbers to show the scale of this?
We do, and yeah, they're pretty stark. According to the Economic Policy Institute, EPI, their respected nonprofit think tank, the numbers paint a concerning picture. Back in September 2023, there were about 192,400 bus drivers working in K-12 schools across the U.S.
Okay, sounds like a lot, but
Here's the kicker. That number is down a shocking 15.1% from just 4 years earlier, September 2019.
wow, 15%, that's huge.
It is, and it's even worse for private school bus drivers. Their numbers dropped by 21.5% in the same time frame, so nearly a fifth gone in just 4 years. This isn't just a blip, it's a major decline. It points to some real systemic problems.
Okay, wow. Almost a fifth of the private drivers gone. How does that kind of shortage actually play out day to day for schools? What are practical effects?
It means serious, painful operational strain. Districts are forced into really tough choices. Many have to make their existing drivers double up runs.
What does that mean exactly?
It means a driver finishes one full route, then immediately has to turn around and start another one, maybe a completely different route. This leads to big delays, kids spending longer on the bus, and just burnout for the drivers.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Other districts end up having to restrict who gets yellow bus transport. They prioritize, often reserving it only for their most vulnerable students.
So kids with disabilities, maybe those in temporary housing.
Exactly. Students with disabilities needing special transport, students experiencing homelessness. Prioritizing them is obviously crucial for equity, but it starkly shows how the shortage limits providing reliable service for all students.
And what's really behind this? Is it just a hangover from the pandemic, or are there deeper things going on?
Oh, it's definitely deeper, more systemic issues that have been building up for a long time. The number one reason, highlighted again and again by groups like the National Education Association, is that transportation staff are just severely underpaid.
Okay.
And on top of that, many drivers work without good benefits. So recruiting and keeping drivers is incredibly hard, especially with inflation, the rising cost of living.
Right.
If someone has a commercial driver's license, a CDL, they can often make way more money, usually with better benefits, driving trucks for freight companies or something else.
Makes sense.
So it's tough for schools to compete. It's a demanding job, too early starts, split shifts, huge responsibility for kids, often for pay that just doesn't match. Plus, you've got an aging workforce, drivers retiring, and not enough younger people coming in.
Sounds like a perfect storm, really.
Yeah.
And districts must be scrambling daily, trying anything just to keep things running. Do we have examples of how this is hitting specific places and how they're trying to cope?
Absolutely. The sources give us some really compelling, sometimes quite moving examples of the struggle. Look at Hillsborough County School District in Florida. This isn't some tiny district. It's the 7th largest in the whole country. They transport 78,000 students every single day.
Wow, that's massive.
Huge. And even though they went all out, hired over 100 new drivers one summer, they still needed 150 more just to be considered fully staffed.
So even a big recruitment push wasn't enough.
Right. And their communications chief, Tanya Arja, was very clear about why they struggled to compete on salary. Many nearby districts have an extra millage increase that's like a voter-approved property tax bump, giving them extra cash specifically for higher pay.
Ah, so it's a funding fight too.
Exactly. Hillsborough is now campaigning hard for their own millage increase, hoping voters approve it. For now, they're still stuck with drivers doing those exhausting double runs.
So it's a competitive disadvantage in a really tight market. What about other big cities? Same story.
Very much so. Chicago Public Schools, CPS, they're facing similar intense pressure. A spokesperson there mentioned a big jump, 22% more students needing yellow bus transport compared to last year.
22%.
Yeah.
Why the increase?
It's specifically concentrated among their most vulnerable kids, students with disabilities, and those experiencing homelessness or in temporary housing. Both groups, sadly, are growing in the district.
That's tough.
So CPS is trying everything, raising driver wages, offering a $1,000 retention bonus for some drivers, pulling out all the stops to lessen the impact on those kids who need the service most.
It really sounds like districts are just patching things together, often spending a lot, but the root problem remains. Are there any, more creative or unusual solutions people are trying?
There's a really powerful example from Hamilton Community Schools in Michigan. It just shows the incredible team effort this crisis demands. Because the shortage was so bad, educators in the district get this, including the current high school principal.
Principal.
Yeah. The principal, a retired principal, and even a teacher who'd been there 30 years, they all went out and got their commercial driver's licenses, their CDLs.
No way. Just to drive the buses.
Just to literally keep the buses running smoothly, make sure kids could get to school. Now, obviously, that's not a sustainable fix for a whole district.
Right.
But it powerfully shows the incredible lengths, the personal sacrifices people are making just to keep basic services going.
That is absolutely incredible. Teachers, principals, driving buses. It just hammers home how desperate the situation is and how dedicated these people are.
It really does. And this whole situation, naturally, has led to big organizations like the National Education Association, NEA, and the Florida PTA calling for systemic solutions.
Makes sense. What are they pushing for?
Becky Pringle, the NEA president, she's been very vocal. She says leaders need to find long-term solutions to fix long-term problems. And she stresses, it starts with paying bus drivers like the professionals they truly are so they can serve students safely and reliably.
Treat it like a profession, pay them accordingly.
Exactly. And Jude Bruno from the Florida PTA echoed that. Said solutions can't be short-term or shortchange students. They have to be long-term. And that means pushing for schools to be fully funded.
Right.
So it's crystal clear. Without tackling the core issues, pay, benefits, working conditions, This driver shortage is going to keep hamstringing our schools and transit systems, affecting millions of people.
Okay, that paints a very stark, very urgent picture of the driver shortage. Massive problem, hitting families everywhere. And this is where it gets really interesting, because with this desperate need, some districts are actually making the leap. They're turning to artificial intelligence for help. Now, let's be clear. We're mostly not talking about fully driverless buses cruising down your street just yet,
Yes.
at least not for most schools. It's more about using AI as a specific, targeted tool to help lessen the impact of the human shortage they're facing right now.
That's a really important distinction. It often gets missed in the headlines, you know. We're not talking sci-fi robot buses today, for the most
Right.
part. The focus right now is squarely on how AI can make the existing human-driven operations much more efficient and safer. Basically, letting the drivers they do have cover more ground, serve more kids within their already packed schedules. It's about optimizing what they have.
Okay, so how is AI actually being used to help with the driver shortage? What does that look like practically?
Well, a major area, and one that's really taking off, is using sophisticated AI software for routing and safety optimization. Companies are developing these complex algorithms that crunch huge amounts of data.
Like what kind of data?
Everything. Student addresses, school start times, traffic patterns, road conditions, even weather forecasts. The goal is to map out the most efficient, safest, smartest bus routes possible.
And the benefit is?
Tangible benefits. Fewer miles driven, less fuel used. And crucially for the shortage problem, it lets the existing drivers pick up more kids safely and on time. It's about working smarter.
Can you give us an example? A company doing this?
Sure. A prominent one mentioned in our sources is TransFinder. They've really been pushing AI in school transport logistics. Their system uses AI to track every bus in real time.
Okay.
This gives drivers and the district vital data, allows for quick adjustments, helps drivers optimize their routes to pick up more kids efficiently and safely. Their CEO, Antonio Civitella, gave a specific example of what their AI can do. Maybe instead of having 2 to 3 stops in an area, we go down to 1 stop.
Consolidating stops.
Exactly. Think about the time saved, the efficiency gained across a whole district if you can do that smartly. That kind of route optimization directly helps with the driver shortage by making each driver more effective.
So it's not replacing drivers, it's making their routes smarter, empowering them in a way.
Precisely. And Civitella also mentioned another key benefit beyond just the shortage. He said, miscommunication hurts the community.
How does AI help with that?
Well, with better AI routing and real-time tracking, everyone, parents, schools, drivers, can be on the same page. It cuts down on the frustration, the uncertainty when there are delays or changes, creates more transparency, more trust.
Yeah, I can see that. Parents aren't left wondering where the bus is.
Exactly. They can literally see it reduces those frantic calls to the school, and schools can give out precise info instantly.
Which brings us right to the parents' view. Super important here. How does this AI software actually affect families day to day?
We have a really direct quote from Amy Kennedy. She's a mom of 4 in Pennsylvania. Her district uses TransFinder. And she said, point blank, the system makes her feel her children are that much safer, and she has more control over the situation.
Why? Just because she can track the bus?
Pretty much. Being able to track the bus in real time on her phone gives parents this huge peace of mind. Knowing exactly where their kid's bus is at any moment. It's a practical, immediate benefit. Addresses that core worry about safety and reliability. And it helps them plan their day better too, right? Knowing when the bus will actually arrive. Less anxiety, less wasted time waiting at the stop.
That sense of control, the transparency, sounds like a massive win for families. Is this kind of AI solution becoming common? Are more districts jumping on board?
Yeah, it's definitely a clear and growing trend. TransFinder, for instance, is already used in about 2,500 school districts across the U.S.
2,500, wow.
And their CEO expects to add hundreds more just in the next school year. So this wide adoption shows that districts desperate for solutions to the driver shortage are increasingly looking to AI software. They see the benefits optimizing resources, improving communication, boosting safety and reliability. It's a practical, tech-forward response to a really tough, real-world problem affecting millions.
It definitely sounds promising. A much-needed fix for a huge systemic issue. But you knew there was a but coming, right?
Always a but with tech advancement.
Exactly. There's always the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
The less discussed, often unintended consequences of automation. These are the unexpected hurdles, the deep frustrations people run into when that human discretion, that empathy, that adaptability we talked about, when it's either gone completely or severely limited.
Mm.
So what happens when the system doesn't work perfectly, or when life just throws a curveball that the automation wasn't programmed for?
And this is exactly where the shiny promise of pure efficiency can just crash headfirst into the messy, unpredictable reality of human life. And the fact that no system, however smart, is perfect.
Right.
When that human discretion, that flexibility, isn't there or is severely limited, even a small glitch can snowball into a nightmare for the person involved. Our sources gave us several really powerful, really personal stories that just vividly illustrate these friction points, those moments of disconnect, frustration. When you're dealing with a purely automated system, these aren't abstract problems. They're real people hitting real walls.
Let's definitely dive into those. They really bring this whole thing to life. Let's start with that story about the expired train ticket. In a foreign city, no less. What went wrong there?
Okay, this one is almost a textbook case of how automation, chasing efficiency, can accidentally strip away crucial layers of human help. The setup sounds simple enough. Traveler buys a train ticket from an automated kiosk in a foreign city.
Standard procedure.
Right. But then, the glitch. The machine just fails to print a receipt. Suddenly, the traveler has no physical proof they paid. Big problem.
Yeah, immediately vulnerable.
Then, compounding issues start piling on. The train itself gets significantly delayed so long that the ticket actually expires before the train even shows up. And to make it worse, the traveler hadn't downloaded the local transit app, so no digital ticket on their phone. And because they're in a foreign country, the debit card charge hadn't cleared yet due to time differences or bank delays, so no proof on their bank statement either.
Wow, that is a perfect storm of bad luck and tech fails. What a nightmare.
Absolutely. And the direct consequence, really serious. Transit police check tickets. This traveler has zero proof of purchase. They're facing the very real possibility of being arrested just because a machine messed up and the system had no human backup.
Terrifying.
And here's the really telling part, the missing link. There was a human train conductor on the train, but they had absolutely no access to the ticket validation system. It was totally separate, totally automated. They couldn't help, couldn't verify anything.
So the human was there, but powerless within the system.
Exactly. A stark disconnect between human presence and system control, which leads to the deeper AI question, right? In a fully AI-driven future, would cameras and sensors just automatically flag an expired ticket or no receipt and issue a fine instantly, with no chance to explain, no human discretion?
It's genuinely chilling. Like the system has no undo, no way to plead your case, a very unforgiving world.
Precisely. And we see a similar pattern, maybe less dramatic, but just as maddening, in the Minneapolis transportation card nightmare. Here, the initial problem was simple. Someone paid to reload their transit card, the payment went through, but the credits just didn't load onto the card.
Okay, that happens. Tech glitches.
Right. But the automation trap snaps shut immediately. All the human ticket agents at the station, gone, replaced by machines. The traveler hits the help button on the machine, and it just gives them a phone number.
Oh, great. So you're stuck calling a generic helpline from the machine that just took your money. That feels awful.
Totally helpless. And the runaround just continued. The operator on the phone asks for the transaction number, confirms the payment went through, but can offer zero immediate fix. The money's in their system, just not on the card.
So what could they do?
This is where the irony and financial burden really kick in. The operator tells the traveler to sort this out. They need to physically go to the one single public transport office in the entire city that handles complaints.
Wait, so they had to buy another ticket just to go complain about the first one?
Exactly. That's the real kicker there. It highlights the burden, right?
Yep.
And of course, needing to get to work, the traveler had no choice but to buy a second transit card right then and there, since the first one was useless.
So now they've paid twice, plus an extra fare, just to complain.
And the punchline, a few days later, seemingly randomly, both cards started working.
Oh, for crying out loud. After all that, what about getting a refund for the extra card and fares?
Well, that's where the refund maze began. Another trip to the central station, needing another fare to get there, mind you, just to fill out a load of paperwork.
More time, more money.
Yep. And the refund, it would only be processed by mail, a long, slow, impersonal process. No immediate relief. The financial hit was real, too. What should have been a $90 monthly pass ended up costing this person $120 out of pocket. And for this specific person, a federal employee whose job usually paid for the pass, it was an unexpected personal expense. Plus, their weird work hours, 2 a.m. to 11 a.m., meant the complaint office was always closed when they finished work. So getting that refund became practically impossible schedule-wise.
That is just a perfect example of how system problems get dumped entirely onto the individual, no regard for their time, their situation, their urgency. It's a total shift of responsibility.
It absolutely is. And it's not just Minneapolis. Our sources point to the New York City transition, too. The iconic subway system, same deal, moving away from human ticket agents towards more automated kiosks.
Right, I've seen those.
And while you might still see human staff around some kiosks, their role is often very limited. They cannot process payments or handle claims directly. They might give info, point you to the machine.
So if the machine messes up,
Again, the only recourse is by mail. You have to physically mail in the broken card, fill out a form, send it off, and eventually, hopefully, get a check in the mail.
so the famous New York Minute, that whole sense of urgency the city runs on, totally irrelevant to their refund process.
Completely disregarded. Your urgency needing to get to work now, rushing to an appointment means nothing to the rigid, automated system. It doesn't care about your immediate need or the disruption. It really highlights the bottom line we keep seeing. Problems caused by the agency or the corporation system, failures, glitches, whatever, they become your problem.
Yeah.
And you have to fix it using your time, your resources, often your extra money. With no guarantee of a quick fix or any compensation for the hassle, you might spend more money just trying to get your original money back. It's the total opposite of the flexibility or compassion a human might offer.
When you put all these stories together, these individual frustrations, it really paints a powerful, maybe kind of unsettling picture about these automated systems, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. While AI promises incredible efficiency, these lived experiences show that efficiency can come at a really steep, unexpected cost. The loss of forgiveness, compassion, adaptive human judgment. When the system hiccups, when life throws a wrench in the works, or when someone just has a bad day, the responsibility, the frustration, it all lands squarely on the individual. They're left navigating this impersonal maze with no immediate human support, no empathy, no flexibility. That's the hidden, very human downside of taking human discretion out of public services. And it's something we really need to grapple with as automation spreads. It forces you to ask, right, at what point does efficiency actually make public service worse?
So AI is definitely being integrated. We see the benefits for things like the driver shortage. But these stories make you really pause and ask, why? Why are these decisions to automate so heavily being made? Is it just about efficiency, or are there other things driving it? This gets to a really fundamental question, doesn't it, about the purpose behind this shift?
It really does raise that crucial question. Is implementing AI in public transport mainly about meeting public needs, better service, more accessibility, more convenience for riders? Or is it primarily driven by business needs profits, cutting labor costs, maximizing their operational efficiency?
Right.
When you hear about the struggles people face with these rigid systems, the extra costs, the lost time, the stress it makes, you ask that direct question. If corporations are pouring money into AI for public transit, are passengers actually going to see cheaper fares because of it?
Good question. Are they?
Well, tellingly, our sources don't explicitly say fares will drop. Some experiences even show costs going up for the individual when things go wrong, that silence on fare reduction. It does make you wonder where the savings from efficiency are actually going and who's really benefiting most.
That's a critical point. If the public isn't seeing lower costs, maybe the efficiency is mainly padding corporate bottom lines, not helping the everyday commuter. And it's also worth remembering, AI in transport isn't brand new, is it? It's been around.
That's a really crucial grounding reminder, actually. AI in transit isn't some sci-fi thing just over the horizon. It's already here. Many of us have used it for years without even thinking about it.
Like where?
The most common example, those automated cable train cars in airport terminals worldwide. Think about it. Millions of us have ridden those fully automated, computer-driven trains countless times flying. No driver, just the system.
Oh yeah, of course. The airport trains.
As the sources put it, they're already there. They've been here for years. It really highlights that the basic tech isn't revolutionary. What is changing and what we're grappling with now is applying that tech to broader public ground, transport the buses, the subways, the services millions rely on daily.
So it's not really if AI can be used in transit. Clearly it can. The big question is how it should be used. And maybe even more importantly, for whose main benefit. Which brings us to maybe the imperfect future and the need for some kind of balance. It feels like a lot of these problems come down to the simple fact that automation, despite the hype, just isn't perfect.
And it's a truth we just have to accept. It never will be perfect. Because these complex systems are designed, built, implemented by imperfect humans. That's fundamental. The sources suggest instead of just fighting against AI, which is probably an inevitable wave anyway, the better, more ethical path is figuring out how to use it without being evil on profits and greed.
Without being evil on profits and greed. That's quite a phrase.
Uh,
What does that actually mean for how we should think about AI in public transport?
It means we need to keep insisting, keep championing the idea that the future of public transport, even with AI woven in, has to be about serving the public first.
Yeah.
It should be about providing genuinely better, more accessible, more equitable service for everyone, not just focusing on maximizing efficiency and profits for companies. The main goal, the ethical driver, should be enhancing the public's experience navigating their world, making transit easier for everyone, more reliable, and ultimately more humane, even with lots of automation. That shifts the focus from just tech progress to actual societal benefit, right? Where tech helps people flourish, not just helps corporations make more money.
And we're not talking about some distant theoretical future here, are we? This isn't decades away.
No, absolutely not. The sources are very clear on this. This deep dive is not about the future. It's about a future which is near, which is already happening. The things we've talked about, the driver shortages, the AI routing systems going in, the frustrating automated kiosks. These aren't hypotheticals. They're happening now to millions of people.
It's current reality.
It is. It's an active, accelerating change in our public services. And that reality really pushes us and you, the listener, to think critically about that balance between tech advancement and keeping human values central in public services. We have to keep asking, how do we make sure that in this rush for efficiency, for smart tech, we don't accidentally strip away the public trust, the human empathy, the adaptability that makes these systems truly work for the public?
So as we wrap up this really fascinating deep dive, we've definitely seen this tension, haven't we? Between the urgent need to fix big problems like shortages using AI's power, and then the surprising, often frustrating loss of human flexibility, compassion that can come with it.
Precisely. AI offers undeniable efficiencies, real solutions for problems like driver shortages. But rolling it out widely absolutely demands careful, ongoing thought about the human factor. We have to stay alert to the potential for unintended negative impacts on individuals when systems prioritize automation over human judgment, empathy, and that ability to adapt when things go wrong.
When we think about these systems evolving all around us, shaping our lives, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our big rush for smart cities, hyper-efficient transit, are we accidentally designing out those crucial human moments? The empathy, the forgiveness, the improvisation that make public services not just resilient, but actually for the public in the truest sense.
Exactly. Maybe the real measure of AI success in public transport isn't just speed or cost savings or pure efficiency. Maybe the deeper measure is whether it genuinely makes things more accessible, more reliable, and most importantly, improves the human experience of getting around. Especially when things inevitably go off script, which they always will. It's about building systems that support humanity, not just move pieces around a board.
We really hope this gives you some food for thought. We encourage you, next time you're interacting with public transit, or any automated system really, take a moment, look at it with fresh eyes. Consider these perspectives. What's working great? And what maybe feels like it's missing that crucial human touch, that spark of understanding or flexibility. Your own experiences, your insights, they're a really valuable part of this ongoing, vital conversation.